Hello everyone, and in the last video we have discussed about PHP API and we have used promises. So this is the example from the last video, and you can see we have used the PHP API and then we have used the then syntax. So this can be really confusing, especially if you have many promises. So then you will have multiple then and then cases. So that can be really confusing. So you can use an alternative syntax. That is the async await syntax. So it does basically the same thing, but with different syntax. So we will recreate this code by using the async await. And the difference is that in async await we use functions. So let's create this same example again. So I will comment this. And I will create a function. And this function is users. And then I will copy this line here and to make this async, so we will write here async before the function. So async, and here as this one we are sending the request to the server, so it will take some time to so that we can get the response. So if you have something that takes time and you need to wait for it, so we will write here a while await, so that we are telling the browser that we have sent this request to the server and wait for this until we get the response and then store it in this variable, and after that you can execute the rest of the code. And it is important that you write the async keyword before the function. And after that, when you get the response, so let's say console.log and users, and now let's call this method, so users, and now here you can see that you have the response and that is okay, and with status 200, so you got the data and you have successfully contacted the server. But here we have a problem. So you can see we don't have the data. So how can we get the data? So we have used here that then, and after that we have used the JSON. So now if we write here .json, so .json, so still what we get here is the premise, and then we have, so we have the premise, then the premise is fulfilled, and then we have the data. So the data is here. So what can we do is we can assign it to another variable. So let data and users.json, and as you can see here we have returned this, and then we have used then. So we will, instead of writing then, we will write here await, and then user.json will be replaced by data. So in this way now you can get the data. So you have those 10 users from this server. So now if you compare it to this one and this one, so these are just 2-3 lines of code. Now what if we have an error? So let's say if I change it, so I write here an extra s, so we have an error. So we don't have this catch here, so how can we catch this error here? So what we can do is we will write here try, and we will write all of this code inside this try. And here we will write catch, and catch will have an error. And let's console.log. And for now I will write here you are here, but still we can't see this. You are here and we are here, so we have no data. So you can see empty object. If I write here something, you can see data here, which is the string. So what we can do is, as we did it like this here, so we can check the status. So if users dot okay, then do this. Otherwise, throw new error. And here we will write users dot status. So now you can see you are here, which is from this. So now you are in this catch here. So you'll replace the string by error, and you can see error 404 at users. So here we can write please try again later, and we put a space here. You can see error 404, please try again later. So in this way you can handle the errors. So if I remove the extra s, so now you can get the data. And if I change it, so now you can get the error. So in this way you can write the async await syntax. So whenever you have to wait for some request, you have to use the keyword await, and instead of then, so here we are returning the response.json, and then we are using the then. So here you should also use the await. So it does the same thing, but it's up to you at whether you want to use this syntax or use this syntax. So it is your preference, but the functionality is the same. Now in that video we have the another example, that is this one. So let me comment this. And now you can see we have sent many requests here. So we will create a post request here. So in this example we have this put, but we will have a post request here. So in the async await. So here what can I do is async and function and post user, and then I can copy this URL and with this data as well. So we have the first parameter, the URL, and the second we have the method foot. So I will change it to post, and this we have the headers. So the data will be the JSON data, and if you use the JSON data, then you have to stringify it so that you send the JSON data. So we have this fetch request. So here I will write await so that we wait for this request, and at the end when we send this request and get the response, so it will be stored in the users. And then what we can do is let data. So we are not getting any data here. Instead, we are posting data, but we will get a response from the server. So data users dot JSON, and here we will have to write await, and after that we can use console dot log and data. And now let's call this function. So post user, and you can see the empty object. But if you come here to the server, here we have an error. So 404 not found. Okay, so we have an error in the URL. So for posting the data, we have this URL, and now you can get the response. So if we come to the console, you can see here the ID 11 as you saw it in the last video in this case. So we got the same result. So we have recreated this whole code here by using the async await syntax. Okay, so now let me comment this. And async await also uses premises. So now let's say, so here we are getting the data. If I uncomment this, and here if I return this data instead of console.log it here, so let's say we need this data, so return the data. Then what can we do? So let me change the URL, and now we are returning the data. So now we have to access this data here when we call the function. So what you can do is you will use dot then, as with the async await is using the premises. So we will use that, and let's say we have the response or data, whatever you call it. So we have the response, and then console.log the response, and you will get the same data here, and you can do whatever you want with the data. So you get the same result, but you can't do it like the other way around. So you can't store it like this. So data is equal to users, and now if you log it, console.log in the data, so now you will get the same result as we are not waiting here. So that same result, and you can see promise pending fulfilled in the array. So that same thing. So if you do it, that will not be the correct format. So instead of doing it like this, you have to do it the other way around. So that then, and then use it. So that's all about async and await, and it is your choice whether you want to use the async await syntax or this syntax. It is the same thing, the same personality, but with different syntax. So that's all about premises and async await, and see you in the next video.